Hello everybody, that's right, it is of course Nick Dutch and I'm back on the camera again one more time. Fill in the blanks if you wish. Alright, now, it's a bit late in the day, I've got a touch of a cold, I'm not feeling too good, and on top of that, just to cap it all, the leg of my tripod has gone and broken, so if my camera topples over, it being balanced very precariously at the moment, feel free to blame the angels, the demons, spirits, karma, the ghost of Osama bin Laden, who didn't like me much anyway, or anything else that you don't particularly like in general. But never mind. Let's have a look at this particular comment which has been left for me, and then we can comment on the comments and see what kind of clarity we can provide the subject at hand, which is one of those things which I tend to do, in my humble opinion, reasonably well. And I know, I do have a big ego, but what the fuck, I'm on the internet, get used to it. Alright. It says here, I do wonder why you insist upon seeing spirits, but chalking the seeing to some we see weird things ending point. As to not want to objectify them is what is weird. I'll assume you've never had a shared abnormal sighting with anyone. One that is referenced by at least two people, not like any other object. If you had, then you might be inclined to objectify these phenomena and perhaps then actually place them in a lingual realm as paranormal. Nope. Some things hold you back. To which I would have to say, of course, do they? Let's just think about this for a minute. Alright? Is it better to turn around to people and tell them that the thing that they want me to say is true? Alright? Let's say I came across someone who really hopes that the New World Order existed. And then I turned around to them and said, yeah, the New World Order does exist. But what I could be referring to would be the corporations going blooming mental, the process of extracting natural gas through the fracking process being detrimental to the environment, and people getting sick because of it. But what they're talking about is some kind of Jewish Zionist conspiracy to overthrow the world and to throw every God-fearing Christian American into a FEMA camp for the purposes of extermination, which would of course be two different things. So I'm not going to satisfy your own personal fantasies as to what you personally want to exist. What I want to do is to have a much more intellectual understanding of what we're talking about and to say what can actually occur. Now, what can actually occur is, on the basis of my own personal experience, okay, that one can have some strange personal experiences. Have I had some experiences that were shared? The bottom line is, yes, I have. Most of those actually involved astral projection and indeed a form of apparent telepathy which occurred during astral projection experiences. And I have referred to one of those experiences, actually, yes, at least one of those experiences, during my 3.5 years stay here on YouTube. So, yes, it does appear that there is some kind of strange thing which does happen in the world. But what I'm not prepared to do is to make a statement which can lead you to the point of believing that a particular model of how these things work, or what these things do, or how they function, or how they can be used, must necessarily be true. Taking into account, of course, that most of the models of the world associated with ghosts, demons, angels, poltergeists, the god and the goddess, circle casting, tarot, all these things are strongly influenced by religious dogma, some of which has been invented, some of which has been warped by other forms of religious organizations for their own political benefits. Okay, so for me to turn around to you and say, yes, I believe in demons, for instance, and for example, that would have a wide variety of different meanings to a wide variety of different people. I don't think that it would be worthwhile saying I do believe in demons, considering that the definition within the public consciousness of what a demon is has in fact been warped completely and utterly out of proportion as a direct result of fiction, fantasy, the media, TV, radio, books, religion, religions hating on other religions, religions warping the stories of other religions, religions trying to steal from other religions and like doing all kinds of weird timey-wimey bullshit associated with those religious ideas just to make things even more complex. Alright, so essentially the word in question has lost a lot of its original meaning, and in fact even has lost a lot of its meaning associated with the variety of experiences that I talk about. Okay, so there's a big difference between me turning around to you and say, yes, ghosts exist, and me turning around to you and saying that, well, there's a strange experience which happens to be associated with a cultural experience or phenomenon which some people ascribe to the seeing of a ghost. Alright, or that particular style of phenomena which is within accordance with our culture, termed as seeing a ghost. Okay, I think we got to get that right. It is very, very, very important that we actually use words carefully and we're explaining things properly, because if we don't, we are no different, and I mean literally no different, to all of the extremist religious fanatics who go around trying to warp people's minds and to stop them from thinking. Alright, so I want people to be able to think and to understand. There is, or appears to be, some X out there. It is an X, it is an unknown, which we people who experiment with this lifestyle involving meditation and religious activities tend to get some kind of like scraping the tip of the iceberg of. But just because I've scraped the tip of the iceberg doesn't mean to say that I have some kind of license to use words in a manner which will lead you to feel that either I have complete and utter total knowledge of whatever these things are, or you already have complete and utter knowledge of what these things are, or that you should be justified to absorb some kind of religious or superstitious behavioral patterns as a result of your own misinterpretation. Okay, and that misinterpretation can come from pulling some rubbish out of your backside. It can come from reading a book by a particular author. It can come from going to a religious organization that's got their own limited understanding of stuff. Watching some particular mediums or spiritualists here on YouTube who have got their own particular ideology that they're trying to portray, and essentially they're, trying to persuade you on a particular argument. Okay? All these things will warp your mind as far as what the phenomena is about. And therefore, that is wrong. Okay, I would personally consider that to be a form of, as close to intellectual sin, an intellectually heinous sin or crime against a reason as you can possibly get, because it's suggesting that a subjective point of view is more important than the perpetual attempting to have experiences and come closer to the truth. All right. It's like saying that punditry is more important than research. It's like saying that yellow journalism is much more important than finding out the facts. It's like saying that Alex Jones and watching the Alex Jones channel is much more scientific than actually doing some proper scientific research in a scientific way using a scientific mindset. It's like saying that you might as well just sit down and listen to Lord Monckton rather than actually find out about climate change. That kind of thinking should not be within this school of thought at all. Alright, because if any of this weird heebie-jeebie, psi-type phenomena is to be experimented with and explored properly, the first thing that has to happen is that all the preconceptions have got to be pushed aside, and we have to look at it objectively. And for it to be looked at objectively, we have to have an objective type of explanation as to what basically it is all about. Alright, and what it is all about we don't know, but we can try and explain what we seem to do to go about trying to get the experience rather than to objectify spirits, angels, demons, ghosts, gods, goddesses and all the rest of that. It's not useful. So that phrase there says some things, namely some things I say, hold me back. It's factually inaccurate because I am trying to advance the dialogue on the subject to make sure that there is no warping of the message. Alright? If we are going to use any of this stuff to help people to do some self-healing, alright, if there is a way of doing it, and I'm not too sure as to how that can happen, but if there is a way of doing it, then we've got to remove away the hoogie-boogie stuff, okay? If there is a way in which we could use this to add to our repertoire as humans of methods of communication, then essentially it has merit. But we can do this through removing statements such as ghosts exists, alright, or be afraid of the demons, or it works, and other unempirical type expressions. The way we use our language will dramatically affect the understanding of these subjects. Case closed.